Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman, and we got a great betting show lined up for you guys. I mean, a real rock-solid show. Tons of actionable information coming your way. Like always, every Wednesday, we start the show with Ralph Michaels. He's going to look at some college basketball, the Kansas-Creighton game. He's also got the Mountain West Championship game he's going to take apart. Boise State -4 against UNLV. And he has a chart for us on NFL division teams in their second meeting. And there are a few. Cue up Pittsburgh. Cue up Seattle. We'll talk about all of that with Ralph Michaels, Kyle Anthony. After that, we're going to look at some UFC. There's a big card on Saturday, and we're going to end the show with Art DiCesare from the Westgate, talk about what the books are seeing and hearing coming for this upcoming weekend of football. Before we get into that, a absolutely massive announcement. I woke up this morning depressed because I'm in a terrible slump for my clients, but excited nevertheless. Why, you might ask? Well, the Grateful Dead or Dead and Company have announced another residency, 18 shows at the Sphere, starting in March, ending at the end of May. Now, I know 90% of you guys are not fans of the Grateful Dead, and that's okay. Please, Bob Weir is bordering on 80 years old. This is running out. Time is not our friend. Buy tickets and go. Even if you don't like them, just go. It will be a seminal night. Waj, if you're listening, let me know when you're going to go. Maybe we can actually finally meet each other. Ralph Michaels joining us. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, Mr. Deadhead. Appreciate you having me on Wednesdays. It is a little weird, sans Teddy, but you continue to do a solid job.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, brother. Rochester Johnny saw the Dead in the 90s. Go now. Another person wanted to know how many shows. Jessica, meet us there. Come. How many shows am I going to go to? I'm going to try buy tickets for 6 shows. Ralph, I hope you get a chance to make it out there. It's a seminal moment, but let's talk some sports betting. Nevertheless, Kansas -4 against Creighton. I had the pleasure of walking into an elevator in Philadelphia about 10 years ago, and I looked up and I'm like, you must be something to do with basketball. It was the coach of Creighton, and I still think he's the same guy. He was so freaking nice. Anyway, with that said, are we betting Creighton or Kansas here?
Well, Prez, Greg McDermott's been the coach for the Blue Jays since 2010 or 2011. So if it's been in the last 14 years, yes, yep. That was Greg McDermott.
That he was awesome, but he's totally irrelevant. Well, he's somewhat relevant to this bet. So where are we going?
You know, listen, Creighton has a great name. They're one of the top mid-majors, if not the top, if you want to consider the Big East a mid-major. And you can't really consider the Big East a mid-major with a national champion, multinational championship Huskies team there. But, you know, Creighton comes in at 5-3, and they are truly struggling. And why are they struggling? Well, they have yet to find their identity. A bunch of new players. They have had 2, 4, 6. Prez, they've had 10 different players start during the first 7 games of the season, and only one player has started all 8 games for Creighton this year. You have a bunch of mismatched players still learning to play together. What has that led to? That has led to a 1-6-1 ATS record, and the only game they covered was at home at a 21-point favorite. Creighton needs one of the best players in all of college basketball to be successful, Kalkbrenner. Kalkbrenner missed last game. He has a lower body injury. And if there's one game they absolutely need Kalkbrenner in, it's against this Kansas team with a front line of Hunter Dickinson, KJ Adams, AJ Shore. They are deep, they are strong, and they are big. Now, Creighton is actually a taller team, but Kansas's people are more physical inside. If Kalkbrenner isn't 100%, this will be a blowout. You look at Creighton's offense, the last 4 games, they shot 33%, 34%, 38%. And yeah, they did shoot 49%, but that was against a poor Notre Dame team that they were a 7.5-point favorite. Kansas, undefeated on the season. They will not look past this team traveling to Omaha for their first road game. Now, while it's their first road game, remember, they took care of Duke in a neutral setting. They took care of Michigan State in a neutral setting. And their last 4 games, they've shot 57%, 54.8%, 49%, and 61% against Furman. Lastly, Creighton is one of the most shoots more three-pointers than almost every team in the country. They are actually number 8. 52% of their field goals are from 3. The problem with that, this year, they're only shooting 31% from three-point range. That is number 241 in the country. And by the way, the Kansas defense is number 50, allowing their opponents to shoot 29% or less on the season. Also, Creighton not playing any pressure defense. They're number 347 in steals. And the Kansas team, with their guards, they just do not turn the ball over. They are number 27, averaging only 14 turnovers a game. KU gets out early. KU blows out their opponent. And I could see Creighton, if this game gets away from them, they host UNLV and then have Alabama, their next 2 games on deck. I could see them bringing in some guys that may have been banged up, letting this game become a runaway and being prepared for the next 2 games. Don't be afraid to lay it with the Kansas Jayhawks tonight.
Yeah, and Ralph, Kansas, not only are they 7-0, but you look at -3.5, -4, they've covered that every single game except the one against Duke where they did win, but they only won by 3. Let's just, and I know you didn't handicap the total here, but you got the 3-point shooting team in Creighton. They have had a couple of low scoring games, 53 and 63. Other than that, this is a team that has been in the 90s twice, a team that just put up 80 on Notre Dame. Kansas is basically 75 and up regularly. We have a 152.5 on tap. Any quick thoughts on the over or under? And an interesting take with Creighton pulling guys later as well that should be taken into account on that total.
Well, again, that's if the game becomes non-competitive.
Right.
If Kalkbrenner is fine and has a good game, trust me, they're going to try to win this game because this is a game changer. Now, I am actually going to go anti-public here. You look at Creighton, they're number 86 in tempo. You look at Kansas, they are number 96 in tempo. You have talked about the points they scored. But Kansas's defense actually does slow opponents. They pick up people at half court. So while Kansas's tempo is number 96, their defensive tempo, or how long it takes their opposition to shoot a hoop, is actually number 310. It's very slow. Teams average a shot every 18.2 seconds. If I had to play the total here, I think I would go under. Yes, Creighton shoots a lot of threes, but again, you are number 241, only completing under 32% of those shots. I think Kansas tries to establish the inside game. Unless Creighton gets hot early from the threes, I think they get off to a slow start. So I would lean under here, as this almost has a playoff-type feel between these two powerhouses.
Ralph Michaels joining us, everyone. Unknown Entity writes, Prez, cross-examination, please. Make a case for the opponent like Teddy. It's very hard to make a case for Creighton here, Unknown Entity. They're literally playing a team that covers this number in their sleep every night. So I can't do that. I'm totally with Ralph on this play. Ralph, let's turn our attention to the Boise State UNLV game. And great game. Listen, now we're at the time where most of these games are going to be great games. We got a 10-2 UNLV playing an 11-1 Boise State. Boise State, man, look, I know these teams don't play each other regularly, but UNLV has never beat Boise State ever. Is this the time they do it?
No, again, conference and Prez, this is the line that is furthest off from what I made my number. Why? Simply put, remember Boise State traveled to UNLV 6 games ago. They were a 3.5-point favorite in the Dome. And what do? They win by 5. They have a yardage edge. And now they come home with one of the strongest home edges, and they're only laying a point more? I don't get it. UNLV, again, is a team that is now playing in Allegiant Stadium. So they're playing in a dome. When you look at the quarterbacks at home in the Dome, they are completing 68.9%. UNLV's quarterbacks on the road averaging only 52%. That is a 16.5% difference in the home-road dichotomy. You look at Boise at home. They're averaging 66% completions. On the road, they're averaging 58.9%. Can UNLV slow down the rush attack of Genty, a Heisman candidate? Well, in the first game, you look, and UNLV did hold them to 185 yards and 4.6 yards per carry. But again, now you're going outside in the weather, in the blue turf. This is simple for me. The line is wrong. The adjustment is not proper. Boise knows with the playoffs, if they win, they are in, and they will make it to the college football playoffs. UNLV is still in that gray area where, as the conference champion, they have to take the biggest conference champion. But to me, that adds more pressure to UNLV being on the road. I do like Boise here in this situation to sweep the season series.
Yeah, it's impossible to argue against you here, Ralph. And this Boise team, so good this year. I mean, they're blowing people out on a regular basis. 34-18. They had a close one against Wyoming, but 42-21, 56-24. I'm with you on this play as well. Ralph Michaels, everybody. Ralph, before we get into your chart, what do you have to promote?
Well, guys, I have a college basketball and NHL 2-pack today, including a 10-0 situation. My basketball totals on a 7-0, 100% run, and a great special. You guys know me for my bowls. Rest in peace, Dave Gokin and I always had a great bowl special together, but you can take advantage and get all the bowls for just $149. That includes all the playoff games through the national championship, and you can get this week's conference championships for free, as well as the Army-Navy game next week. That special just $149. It's a special for me and every college football capper at WagerTalk.
Ralph Michaels, everybody. Ralph, let's get into your chart. So NFL division teams in the second meeting. Many years ago, this was one of those spots where everybody used to say it's very hard to win 2 games in a row against the same team, and especially if they make it to the playoffs and play that third game. It used to be an automatic bet to bet on, for instance, Pittsburgh this week or Arizona this week. Lots have changed over the last 20, 30 years. Let's get right into your chart and see if it is still the same thing.
Well, I went back to 2015, Prez, and I use 2015 often because that's when they moved the extra point line back, and it seems the most continuative period of time in the NFL. So if we can see the chart, you're going to see down the left-hand side, this is what the home team did in the first game. If you won as a home favorite, if you won as a home dog, if you lost as a home favorite, if you lost as a home dog. So, Prez, if you won game 1 as a home favorite, you're 50% in game number 2 on the road. So it doesn't affect you either way. If you won as a home dog and then something happened where you actually were a home dog in the first game and an away favorite, you'll see you're 6-0 against the spread as an away favorite in game 2. But simply, if you're going to take one thing out of this chart, Prez, it's line number 3. If you're a division opponent and you lose game 1 as a home favorite, If you're an away favorite next week, you've covered 71.4%. If you are an away dog, you've covered 58.5%. So blindly, since 2015, in a division, if your team lost as a home favorite in game one, if you bet that team in game two, you have gone 63.5% against the spread in 10 years of NFL action. That is a powerful tool, and that is something that I may not bet a team, but it is very likely I will never play into that role because it is such a strong system. As always, I will post this on Twitter at CalSportsLV so you could do a deeper dive. But again, the takeaway, division teams that lose the first game as a home favorite are clearly a play on in game number 2.
Ralph Michaels, everybody. Ralph, I can't thank you enough for joining us, my friend. Best of luck this weekend. I won't see you next Wednesday. I'm away, but you'll be here. And yes, I will see you next Wednesday. I'm only missing the Monday show. Joe Ranieri will be hosting the Monday show, everybody. Before we bring in Kyle Anthony, let's go straight to the daily presidential address. Okay, guys, welcome everybody to the daily presidential address. I am Lawrence Presman, and I'm going to take apart the Las Vegas Raiders versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers game this Sunday. It is +7 for the Las Vegas Raiders. And before I get into that, I want to make mention again of our bowl season package. It is a spectacular deal. I have my first 5% college football total of the season up for Saturday. It's $35, but instead of paying $35 for that one single play, buy the entire bowl season. It includes this weekend and the Army-Navy game next weekend as well. For only $149. To give you perspective, I'm running really bad in hoops right now. I get it. I'm not running great in NFL over the last week, but my college football is spectacular. I'm on a 7-3 run. I'm on a 19-9 run. In all my college football totals this season, I am 69%, and I am the number 2 most profitable handicapper the last 2 years of bowl bets. So $149, you get the entire bowl season. Okay, let's get into this Las Vegas Raiders game. So look, the Raiders gave everything they had to beat the Chiefs last week, and I mean everything. And that's really important to know for this handicap. Their QB is playing for his starting career. Their coach is playing for his coaching career. And I do think we get a maximum effort from this team. We've seen some money come in on Las Vegas as well. It's now been bet down to +6.5. And for me, that's a great thing because as I'm going to explain, I'm looking to bet on Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay blew it last week. Absolutely blew it. They played horrible, horrible football. And lucky for them, they got out of Dodge with a win. Now, if you guys have been following me on a regular basis, and this is across all sports, you know that I love to bet on a team that just won their last game but played god-awful. And that's exactly the spot Tampa Bay is in. I happen to be lucky enough to be friends with a lot of professional athletes. We had Matthew Barnaby on the show last year who played in the NHL. And these guys say over and over and over again, coaches do their best work when they are coaching a team after they won a game but played really bad. And it makes a lot of logical sense. The team, from an emotional perspective, is fine. Tampa Bay, 6-6 now, tied at the top of the division. Although they don't have the tiebreaker, they're tied at the top of the division with the Atlanta Falcons. They've got to be feeling good. They've got to be excited about where they are, but they also know unequivocally that they had a horrible game and need to right the ship. This is a great spot to bet on Tampa Bay and also a perfect spot to bet against the Raiders. As we discussed, Tampa Bay is coming off a horrible performance, and they know that. They know that they have to right the ship. They have won their last 2 games. They are getting healthier, and they have to be feeling good about themselves emotionally. The bottom line is they are in this thing, As for the Raiders, they brought the kitchen sink last week. They played against their number one rival. They wanted badly to win this game. They could have won this game. They marched all the way down the field only to mess it up on a bad snap. And now they sit distraught, despondent, and 2-10 on the year. And this game just won't matter to them. It is cross-conference. It's against a non-rival. I think they're going to have a real hard time getting up for this football game. Now that it is 6.5, there is a very good chance this will be a client play. Take Tampa Bay -6.5 against the Las Vegas Raiders. Let me know what you think. Am I right? Do you agree? Put it up in the comment section. I'll read them all. Thanks for watching the daily presidential address. Kyle Anthony joining us. Kyle, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, Prez. Doing good. Great year betting MMA, and crypto is running hot. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, Kyle, do you think crypto? I think crypto is going to take a little dive. Not a big one, but I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see crypto get down into the 70s again, and it normally does do that. There's a lot of head fakes out there with Street and Strategy and BlackRock. I mean, these guys need liquidity in the marketplace. The only way to create liquidity is to dump stock, create chaos, and then scoop everything up. So I would expect a drop in crypto before we have a bigger run. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it's been such a sleeping giant, a lot of these for a while, and the ones that are running hot have, I don't know, plus 200%, plus 300%, and legit ones. I'm not talking the meme coins and a lot of the BS that's out there. I'm talking about the legit projects. And I agree. It's run so hot, it has to take a pullback. There's got to be some selling off here. So I agree with it. But in general, I think leading into 2025, it's going to be a massive market.
Yeah, and guys out there who can't afford Bitcoin, you can, because you could buy it in 0.0s. And also, I think Solano is going to be a good bet moving forward. So, whatever you're betting on sports tonight, take half of that and buy some Solano. Kyle, let's get into some UFC. Weidman versus Andres. I can't believe Chris is still around, but there he is. How old is he now? He's got to be in his 80s. Who's winning this fight?
He's 40. And so we've got Chris Weidman here versus Eryk Anders. And this is sitting at around a pick'em price tag. And we're looking at this fight here. I think the first thing you got to look at is Chris Weidman's most recent fight. It was a fight I was at in Atlantic City. I was sitting front row. Weidman was a plus 200 favorite. We cashed that ticket as a client play, but I am selling my Chris Weidman stock at this particular point here. And in that fight overall, the big thing when you're looking at Weidman was, he had multiple eye pokes. It was a bad look for him overall. A lot of these against Bruno Silva weren't called by the ref. It was kind of a chaotic fight. He got the nod, got the victory. But overall, watching him, he is, to your point, Prez, he is a decrepit, declining skill set man at this point here. I think he's frail. He looked very slow. I think he looked sloppy, even against the guy of Bruno Silva's caliber at this point here. I think he's just really a shell of himself. He's aging. He's had injuries. He's had multiple surgeries. It is just a lot against him. And when you're looking at Anders here, I think Anders stylistically really brings a lot. I think this is a guy that brings more to the table, at least at this particular point. I know Weidman's a former champion, and Anders has kind of been a journeyman. But at this point here, I think his pressure-based forward style out of Anders is going to work here. I think he can really push forward, throw the big shots, look to cut the distance. And I think the big thing here is that Weidman may, of course, he's a wrestler, look for some takedowns. I think the physicality and strength is going to be on the Anders side, and I think he's going to be able to control some of that, dictate the pace a little bit, cage push, and really bully Weidman a little bit. Again, Weidman, a wrestler, I think this probably more plays out on the feet, and I think that Anders, if anybody is going to hurt somebody in this fight, I think it's going to be Anders landing the more damaging shots and possibly getting more control time here. So you are seeing that money is coming in on Weidman, but I still like Eryk Anders here at that -105 mark.
Kyle Anthony joining us, everyone. Kyle, let's turn our attention to the next fight on the card. Well, it's not on the card, but Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Garry. Anytime there's an off or a schmuck-off or a lock-off, I'm all in. Where do we go here?
All right, so we've got Shavkat Rakhmonov. He is a minus 400 massive favorite. On the other side here, you've got Ian Machado Garry around that plus 300 mark. Now, this is an absolutely fantastic co-main event here. You've got two rising stars, two undefeated guys. You've got Ian Garry 15-0. You've got Shavkat here 18-0. And what's very impressive about Shavkat is the fact that he has a 100% finish rate. He's got 10 submissions. He's got 8 knockouts. That's absolutely impressive when you're looking at it. You know, very well-rounded guy, very comfortable anywhere the fight goes. And that threat of takedowns and that threat of the grappling and the ground game can open up opportunities when he's striking, when he's moving forward, people looking for that shot, looking for those takedowns. And, you know, overall, if he gets a fight to the ground, very slick, very opportunistic with his submission game, always hunting that finish. Now, the issue for me here on the Shavkat side, and especially at this price, is his takedown ability. You know, Shavkat, has the good striking, has the good grappling, but really lacks in the wrestling. And I think that's really where it can open up opportunities here for Ian Garry. You got Shavkat, 29% takedown success rate. You've got Ian Garry sitting around a 69% takedown defense rate. So I think that's going to be tested. But with that being said, I do think that this fight probably plays more out on the feet. And I think that highly favors Ian Garry in this spot here. And I think he has the faster hand speed, the quicker developing combinations. You know, his distance management is really fantastic. He's very risk adverse, good footwork. And the other part about it is that he really has these great snapping leg kicks where he chops away at his opponent's legs, mixes it up. He can start, firing to the head. And really, I like the volume that he pushes too. And if you also add in, this is going to be a 5-rounder. And I think that also plays into really Garry's style, where you've got Shavkat. He's going to push for those finishes that could open up opportunity again to counter, to land. But Garry's really a solid point fighter from the outside, precise striking. I really do believe that this is a spot where this line is too wide. A lot of hype on Shavkat. Plus, a lot of people just purely hate Ian Garry, and I think they're betting against him for that reason as well here. I think this line is very wide in this spot here. I like Ian Garry plus 300, and I think there's a lot of value in that number.
There we go. Kyle Anthony comes on and Mike drops with a plus 300. Kyle, what do you have to promote?
So we have 2 UFC events left in 2024. We are up 74 units for clients in MMA. Also, we have a 5%. We are 13-1 on 5% best bets or max plays this year. So ready to knock one down again this Saturday. And then we've got one more card next Saturday. And we are closing shop to the mid-January mark there. But excited to finish strong, and we're going to keep profiting for clients.
Kyle Anthony, everyone. Outstanding stuff, Kyle. Thanks for joining us. Art DiCesare from the Westgate, my favorite segment every single week. Art, welcome to the show. And I don't know if you know the news, brother, but Teddy.
I don't know. Yes.
Teddy he's stepped down from co-hosting this show. He's just too busy. He does so many videos all day long, and with the show being at 9 a.m. Eastern PST for him, it was just too much, and it was getting to him. So he stepped back. He's going to be a guest on the show and continue doing a lot of other shows. But we're going to be moving forward without him. We will have a co-host. We're just organizing everything moving forward. But you only got me today, brother.
It's all good, Prez. It's good to see you. Obviously, listen, I've been doing shows with Teddy for a long time, so glad to hear that he's stepping away and getting some time. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree, man. It was plus I was driving him nuts. Let's be honest here.
Let's be real.
Art, I want to start right off the bat with the Detroit Lions Green Bay game. It goes this Thursday. We've seen some moves. I don't know where the Westgate is, but there are 3s now on tap. So clearly some money is coming in from Green Bay. The over looks like it's continuing to be bet. Tell us what you're seeing and hearing about this game, and what do you like?
Yeah, this is a fascinating game. Obviously, one of the best games of the year. I think Detroit gets hurt a little bit. Now, both of them are going to be on the same rest because they both played Thursday. So you don't have one team on shorter rest than normal, obviously both playing on Thanksgiving. And obviously, Detroit got banged up. They got a lot of injuries. So you saw that, and you saw the people. They scooped up Green Bay right away at 3.5. So we're now Detroit -3, -120. You mentioned the total's gone up from 51 for us to 52. So we've seen good over money come in. I think this is a very classic. Obviously, all the sharp guys took their 3.5s. The public eventually, and they haven't done it yet for us, they're going to come in and lay Detroit -3 because Detroit wins every week, and that's just how they feel. Obviously, they didn't cover the big number on Thanksgiving against the Bears, but the public's just going to see Detroit at home, laying 3, they're going to lay it. So right now for us, we need Detroit, but I do think we will get a flood of Detroit money that eventually comes in. And I think you're going to see a lot of Detroit money line as well, especially because it's in that 3 range.
Art DiCesare joining us. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, take a second out of your day and hit that like button for us, please. Also, make sure to comment as well. Art, tell us about last week in the NFL. How did you guys do?
You know, last week in the NFL was basically a break-even type of week. There were a couple of games that really swung and could have swung our week for a real positive. And the real big one was that Tampa game. We had so much money locked in on Tampa money line wise that if Carolina could just gone down the field, held onto the ball, and kicked that field goal in overtime, it would have been a really nice swing for us in the positive direction. So it was really like nothing to report. It wasn't a big loss or a big win. It was just one of those NFL Sundays.
So, Art, are your Sundays and Saturdays dictated by teasers, parlays, or straight bets?
It's a great question, Prez. I think depending on the week and depending on what's going on, also depending for us, you know, we have a lot of house players, you know, and are they in town for the weekend? Are they going to come in and drop, you know, a big 5-figure bet on a college game or an NFL game? And sometimes that can swing what goes on with our bottom line on a Saturday or Sunday. Obviously, teasers and parlays are huge, but the majority of what's going to swing bets for us is when we take a position on a side. And if we take a position on a side and if we book to a side, we take the sharp information we get from a bettor that we respect and we start to book to that side, that's really what's going to be what our wins and losses are dictated on.
Yeah, Art, I got to stop you there because a lot of, listeners on this show and some of them are newbies to this industry. Explain what you're talking about when you say take a position on a side. And the reason I ask that is most people assume that you guys are just trying to get even money and then you'll take your 10%, which, by the way, for everybody out there, it works out to be, if you're running an online sports book, your sort of net profit is somewhere around 3% of the total revenue brought in. So inside of that 10%, 3 of that is the profit. That's how most sports books work, but some do take positions on sides. Please explain.
And it's a great myth, I think, in sports books, right? Everybody says, well, we'll book 50 games and hopefully we get the same action on both sides and we'll take our 10% and we'll move on to the next day. Out of 50 games, you might have one that gets equal action. Yep. It's just not possible. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen, I think, as often as people think it does. Sometimes some weeks are a little bit different, but when we open a number, we're going to have a number, which sometimes we could shade one way or another, but there are mostly market numbers. And then when we have our bettors come in, who we consider to be the sharp, educated players, and they come in and lay a side, we can now book to that side. We can shade it to get money on the other side and say, hey, this is a person we trust long term, and we're going to book to their side. And sometimes you get in a position 80 or 70-30. you're in one of those positions. So it's totally different than the old, let's just get 50-50 and have it work out that way. That is really not something that we like to do. We like to take positions. I mean, we are a risk room, and that's part of managing risk.
What do you think the percentage is between ATS bets and total bets? Not ATS, sides, just sides versus totals.
That's a great question. I would say probably, and to be honest with you, I could crunch numbers and come in with that answer next week. If I had to guess, I'd say we're talking 70-30. We're probably in that range. I mean, because this is how I look at it. There are not a lot of public people who come in for weekends and just say, I want to bet over-unders. They all want to lay sides. They want to do parlays and teasers and money lines and all that. So to me, the sides are really set up for the sharp players. They're going to come in and they're going to bet their over-unders. So not a lot of public people coming in and betting totals.
Do you think you have the same percentage chance of winning a side versus a total, or are the sides sharper than the totals?
I think the sides are sharper than totals, but also, too, you got to remember, and there are some people who will say, I know Steve Merrill believes in some key numbers on totals, but there are really key numbers on NFL sides. We know that. When you're talking 3-7 and you have a chance to maybe get middled on a game. Look at the Raider game this week. I know it's a game you just talked about. We saw sharp guys come in and take 7.5, and if now we have another sharp group come in and take 6.5, and the game lands 7, we get buried on the game. So that can really happen. It's rare that that's going to happen on a total.
Okay, let's turn our attention to some college football. This is the best college football week of the year. Period. End of story. There's going to be a lot of juicy games, a lot of close games, a ton of drama is about to take place. Rather than going through these games one at a time, which is quite the event, any bets that you're seeing or hearing that we should know about, and what do you like?
Yeah, let me just start, like I kind of always do. I'll give you some sharp stuff, and I'll give you some public stuff. The two most public teams this week are Penn State getting 3.5 against Oregon. That number has not moved. It stayed steady for us at 3.5. And we opened Texas a little bit higher. Not crazy high, but there were mostly 2.5s out there. We opened Texas 3, and we saw a good flood of Georgia money coming at 3. We're now back to 2.5. So Georgia and Penn State for us are the two most public sides. Sharp sides this week. Tulane, they laid 4. It's now up to 5 against Army. The Boise UNLV game, they took under 59.5. That's now 58. They also laid 4 with Louisiana. That's now minus 5.5 against Marshall. And the game that's probably the most split on who the public's on, who the sharps are on. To me, the public is on SMU. The sharps are on Clemson. That's a number that really hasn't moved, though. It's 2.5 across the board, and that's how we stayed. We haven't even messed with 2.5 minus 20 or even gotten to 3, minus 120. We've stayed steady there. But from the bets I've seen come in, public is laying SMU, sharps are taking Clemson. And if you want a college one for me, Prez, I like the under in the Conference USA game. I like under. There's still some 58s out there in the Jacksonville State game. That was as high as 58.5. I like under in that game.
Art DiCesare joining us, everyone. Art works at the Westgate, a world-class establishment for a long, long time. Your sportsbook is spectacular. Art, let's turn our attention to some NFL. We've already spoke about Detroit and Green Bay. Before we get into the actual card, as we're entering sort of the back, third of the season, many games have nothing of importance. In other words, New Orleans, New York Giants, for instance, this week. Do you get less action on those games? I would assume you do. Or are those games sort of where wise guys are finding more opportunities?
Well, you just hit a game, Prez, and that is a wise guy side. They laid 4 with the Saints, and it's now up to 5. Now, will the public come in and bet those games this week? No. they're not going to bet, Titans, Jags, and those type of games. They're going to stay off those games. They're going to obviously bet the marquee matchups, and they're going to bet all the primetime games, as we know, which they always do. But I think sharp players and the more educated players look for those lower tier games and say, hey, maybe this number's a little off. Maybe the bookmakers didn't find the right number or didn't pay attention enough to this game, and we could fire on this game. So you do notice that with the lower tier NFL games for sure.
And let's talk about that for a quick second. So I taped the NFL presidential address yesterday, guys. You can find it up on WagerTalk TV. This is my favorite NFL card of the week, of the year, actually. There's so many plays I like. I can't even tell you. So, Art, what I was talking about was if we're going to be betting teams like Tennessee or Jacksonville, the Giants, the Bears, for instance, the Bears in Chicago. I mean, what a perfect spot to bet the Bears. New coach. What a perfect spot to bet San Fran off of a humiliating loss. Make sure, guys, to know which team cares. So I'll give you a for instance. I don't think the New York Giants care. I think the New York Giants want to stick it to their coach. They want to stick it to their senior management. I think the team is pissed off. I think the team is angry. The New York Jets, I don't think they care. I think they're mad. I think the coach is gone. I think the GM is gone. I think the quarterback is gone. Half those players are gone. I think New Orleans cares. I think they had a injury in the middle of the season with Derek Carr. They just want to go into next season feeling good. I think Tennessee cares. They have a new coach. Their coach is not in the hot seat. They're trying to establish a culture. I think Jacksonville doesn't care. Art, anything to add to that?
No, and it makes perfect sense. And, once again, the Saint game we just talked about. Since the Saints made their coaching change, they've won some games. They've played hard. They were in that game last week against the Rams. And you're right. And listen, I'm a lifelong Giant fan. The Giants want nothing more than to go 2-15 and to hold the number one pick. We all know that. I think that's very simple. Jacksonville's a mess. Obviously, the quarterback. Now you're going to Mac Jones. The Titans, they've played hard. You got to take out what happened to Washington last week. They just ran into a buzzsaw. Washington needed the game in the worst way. But you're right. There are some places you could find spots. But also, too, we're going to get into a position where some of these teams are so bad, we might have to start shading towards that. And, a number that should be 3 might be 4. So, you get into that as well.
Well, I think you're there now with the Giants in New Orleans. I mean, I think they played 2 weeks ago. It ain't -5 on the road. Let's get into this card. So what are you seeing, hearing, and what do you like?
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned Saints were sharp, Raiders were sharp. I do expect the Bucs sharp money to come in at 6.5, like I mentioned. I think we're going to have dueling sharp sides at +7.5 and -6.5. We're going to have to really avoid the 7 in that game. They laid 3 with the Chiefs, and now that's up to 4 against the Chargers. So that is sharp as well. Public is on a couple of things. They're on the Dolphins laying 6.5 against the Jets that you just mentioned. And they did take a total. I know I just said they don't take a lot of totals, but all Bengal games seem to go over. They are so bad defensively. So they are on the Bengal-Cowboy over in that matchup. So those are the 2 most public plays. And another one that's kind of going to be one we need to not hit because of the money lines and the teasers. We're going to need Minnesota to lose outright. That's going to be a game that's going to be big for us if we can get the Vikings to lose outright.
If you guys watched yesterday's show on the Daily Presidential Address and the video is up now, I mentioned that I think Minnesota will lose outright. So there you go, Art. I believe you've got a shot at Atlanta winning that football game. Art, what do you anything in hoops or NHL before we let you go?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's throw a couple out there. A couple of totals in the NBA. Lakers Heat overnight was 216. It's now 219. 3-point move to the over. Pacers Nets was 227.5. It's now 225.5. That's a 2-point move to the under. Those are both sharp plays. In the NHL, you've seen the Knights and Ducks go from 6 to 6.5. And then here's a really good college basketball slate. Some lower end stuff, but you've seen Minnesota get money at +5 at home against Michigan State. That's now 4. Maryland laying 4 at home to Ohio State. That's now 5.5. and you saw Colorado State open as an 8-point favorite at home against Loyola. That's now 9.5. And the UConn-Baylor game is huge. It's shocking that UConn, who's played nobody, especially beaten nobody, they've played good teams and lost, they laid 2 to Baylor at home. Now they're 3. So the public is still backing UConn, which I'm surprised by.
Art DiCesare. Art, what do you have to promote?
As always, guys, come down to the Westgate. Check us out. As always, listen, I'm doing a lot of stuff for WagerTalk too. I'm on here every Wednesday. I go on with Kelly every Saturday, last call. I'm actually going on Bet On It this week. Kelly asked me to go on. So I'm going to do a little segment on there this week as well. I believe I'm taping that in about an hour or so. So listen, just check all that stuff out. And as always, if you're down in the Westgate, you need any help with anything, getting seats, where are sheets, anything, how do I sign up for the app? Just come in, ask for me, and I'll pop out and I'll give you a couple of minutes.
Art DiCesare, a real friend of Wager Talk. Thank you so much for all you do. What a fun show, everybody. Shout out to Ralph Michaels, Kyle Anthony, and Art DiCesare. Tomorrow's show, Marco D'Angelo, Hakeem Prophet, and Dave Sherapen. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you tomorrow.